Hi everyone. I'm Vasiliy Sabirov. I am lead analyst and co-founder of dev2dev.com, and I'm really glad to see you today because I feel it myself. It's really hard to feel yourself in the end of second day of the conference, especially after that beautiful party. Today we'll speak about analytics. Of course, I can speak only about it. And before I'd like to say what is Dev2Dev. We are the analytical platform for game developers. And we provide the interface for different roles in a game studio. For example, the producers can track the metrics of money and audience. The acquisition manager can work with the traffic quality. The game designer can work with the game balance. And analysts can work with the raw data. And everything on one data set and in one interface. So we are the system for the whole set of roles in the game studios. And I like the comparison that the analytics is like medicine for your project. Sometimes you need to visit the doctor. And the doctor suggests you to make some measurements, such as temperature, height, and so on. And after that, doctor makes some decision, some recommendation. What shall you do to make your body, or maybe soul, better? Sometimes doctor needs to make some additional measurements and make decision only after that. Well, the analytics looks really the same. Sometimes you need to visit analysts. You need to visit analysts, by the way, every day. But and the analyst will provide you with a recommendation how to make your game, your project better. And analytics allows you to find the points of growth of your game and its bottlenecks. But the problem is that not all the game studio understands it. A lot of game studios, I can even say most of game studios, still use analytics only as the set of two metrics. I mean, visits, like audience, and revenue, gross revenue. And that's it. And this is enough for most of the studios. And this is the biggest mistake, that these metrics are not enough. Let's look at the case. Well, the red line is the revenue. And the blue line, which is built on additional vertical axis, is the new users, the traffic. And in the left part of the chart, everything looks pretty well. Revenue is slightly growing. The new users are growing. Now? And on the right side of the chart, something's happened. And the revenue started falling. New users also start falling. How can this happen? If you work only with the revenue and new users metric, you can never understand it. You need to dig deeper. There could be several stages, several levels of depth of analysis of your game, and we will explore it. First of all, I need to say that revenue and new users are qualitative metrics, but the truth isn't. Revenue and users are quantitative metrics, and the truth are in qualitative metrics, such as ARPU, for example, average revenue per user, or let's say paying share, the share of users who makes payments in free-to-play game, or maybe LTV, the lifetime value. And of course, one of the most important qualitative metrics is retention. It's hard to say that, but more than 50% of game studios don't use retention as a metric. And I think that's the big problem, because retention can be a multiplier. If you increase retention a bit, it can be a multiplier. You can increase your revenue significantly. So the rule one, how to not make this mistake, is distinguish quality and quantity. And don't forget that quality first, and quantity is like is the second part of analysis. Rule number two is that qualitative metrics are falling. It is wrong to assume that if you do nothing, let's say with your day 7 retention, that it will be stable. No, it's wrong. It will be less. The organic behavior of qualitative metrics is slight fall. So you need to always improve. You need to always increase your qualitative metrics. Otherwise, it will slightly fall. You can see the blue line is the average day 7 retention for, let's say, financially successful free-to-play games. And the red line is for financially unsuccessful games. And you can see that it decreases for any segment of games. So that's the organic behavior of qualitative metrics. The qualitative metrics usually tend to fall down. But the metrics are not the only truth. You also need to work with the conversion. You need to understand the behavior of your players inside the game, because there you can find the bottlenecks. You can find some problems. Do they have problems with conversion? Traffic analysis. If we're talking about qualitative metrics, we should definitely talk about traffic analysis, because traffic analysis is the shortest way to save your money. If you analyze your traffic, if you analyze its quality by different traffic sources, by different traffic campaigns, it allows you to redistribute your money to the more successful campaigns. Also, you always need to structure your money. There are different ways to structure the revenue, and I'd like to share my favorite one. Here we segment paying users by their age in the game. So you can see the red section is the money which comes from older users, let's say users who is 6 to 12 months in the game. And the small blue line is the share of money which come from newcoming users. And this type of segmentation allows you to track how different segments of paying users react to the changes in your game. For example, after one of the updates, we found out that in one of the games, the share of new paying users increases, but the share of old paying users decreases. Is it okay? Is it good? How do you think? It is awful, because older users pay a lot. They already converted to the repeating payments. They have the huge check. And in free-to-play games, usually about, let's say, 80 to 90% of the users, 90-80% of the revenue come from users who is less than 6 months old in the game. So 3 rules how to work with it. The first rule is to find the conversion bottlenecks. And the next slide will be about it. First rule, don't forget to analyze the traffic. It allows you to save the money fast. And rule number 5, you need to structure your money. And as for the conversion, here is a report that can be one of the favorite reports for everyone. Do you know such type of report called funnels? Raise your hand if you know funnels. Everybody knows funnels? All right. The funnels have one fundamental problem. The problem is the analyst. The analyst builds step 1, step A, step B, step C. And the funnel shows the share of users who perform A, then after some time B, after some time C. But the problem is that there could be some additional events between A and B, between B and C. And the funnels say nothing about it. This report, called user flows or Sankey charts or Sankey diagrams, allows you to track the user's behavior. You can see what your users really do. And this report can be built in 2 ways. The first way is like here, when you fix the start point and you see what's going next. The second way is that when you fix your finish point, and you can see how the users come to that condition. And what can be more insightful about this report? If the finish point is, let's say, the fake event inactivity for 7 days, then this type of report can easily show you the points of churn. And that's really insightful. The next rule is LTV-based approach. I'm sure that most of you if you develop a game, you like to see the chart of your revenue. But that's not the perfect approach. The perfect approach is to, first of all, increase your LTV, increase the quality of your project. LTV is the most important qualitative metrics of your project. And you need to first optimize your LTV, and only after that, add your traffic. You need to first fix all the holes, and only after that to pull the water. So my approach is to increase LTV first, increase retention, increase ARPU. It will increase LTV, and only after that you need to add more traffic. The next rule, you need to model your game. You need to model your revenue, and that's one of the simplest models. Let's say you buy the user for $1, and the user brings you, on average, 1.1 USD. And you need to increase, your aim is to increase your revenue, of course. And if you optimize the CPI by 10%, if you make it 0.9, it will increase your revenue twice. That's the multiplier. And that's the simplest model of your revenue. And it means that if you find that models, you can easily find the points of growth of your game. Well, another rule, especially for games, is to analyze the game economy. There are really many things in game economy that needs to be analyzed. There are a lot of features inside the game. Let's say game levels, virtual currencies, in-app purchases, time in the game are the features that needs to be analyzed. And I'd like to share some simple but useful methods of analysis. The first method is the consumer basket. It can be built easily. You track the structure of in-app purchases, the structure of all of the purchases made, let's say for the 30 days. You divide it by the number of users, and you get the average structure of your consumer basket. What do your users usually buy? And it allows you to understand, to estimate the share of every virtual item in the common structure. A bit more advanced type of analysis is the ABC analysis. Do you know the Pareto principles? Raise your hand, please, if you know Pareto. Yes, thank you. This method is based on Pareto principles. If you have a lot of virtual items in your game, you can make the segmentation, make the ABC analysis, ABC segmentation of your virtual items. The segment A is the few set of virtual goods that brings you a lot of revenue, up to 80% of your revenue. The segment B is the 20 or 30% of your items that give you 15% of your revenue. And the segment C is the last half virtual items that bring you at least 5% of your revenue. And if you build it, you can easily find the Pareto distribution in that structure. It usually works like that. And it will show you which items are really important for you and which items can be changed a bit. Another type of analysis called XYZ analysis. It analyzes the stability of demand. If the virtual good have the stable demand, if let's say the number of items bought per day is pretty stable, then you can segment it to X segment. And if it's if the dispersion is really huge, you can segment it to Z. And after that, you can see try to find the reasons why the demand is stable in X and not stable in Z. And now, if we multiply ABC and XYZ analysis, we can build the structure like this. And the virtual items in AX are the items which bring you a lot of the revenue and which have the stable demand. What shall you do with them, with these items? Nothing. It's better not to touch them. Let them earn the money for you. If you want to touch something, if we want to make some A/B testing, some experiments, it's better to make it closer to CZ segment. And let's say if we select the AY, BY segments, CY, they have not so stable demand, and maybe that's the set of items that need to have the optimal price. Maybe the price is not optimal at the moment. And so this is the insight, which items can you select for A/B testing of pricing. Another rule is to segment your players. If you make decisions not for the whole set of users, but also for some different segments, it will just mathematically increase the probability to get some insights. And here I show some simple but useful types of segmentation. How can you segment your users? And also, if you multiply some different types of segmentation, for example, let's take new users and all users as one type of segmentation, and paying and non-paying users as another type of segmentation. If you multiply it, you get 4 sub-segments. The users in these 4 sub-segments have different motivation, have different behavior, have different history, and have different ways to communicate with them. And how many segments to select? Usually my recommendation is select as many segments as you can calculate simultaneously in your head. Usually it's about 10 segments maybe. And if you track all the metrics, not only for the whole set of users, but for every separate segment, and if some metric started going differently in some segments, let's say the ARPU started going up in one segment and going down in another segments, that's the point of insight. You need to dig deeper and understand what happened and how can you increase the metrics for the whole game. Rule number 10 is to monitor the indicators, to monitor your KPI. How to save money? The first recommendation is to start recording all the expenses in the special application. How to lose weight? Again, one of the first recommendations is to start recording everything you eat. How to maximize project revenue? You need to first set the monitoring system. And if you set the monitoring system, if you can look at every peaks, at every unusual behavior of any metric, this can lead you to some insights. This can lead you to some ideas how does your game work and how to make it better. And here I offer you the simple structure of monitoring, simple structure of metrics. If you monitor the metrics in that way, you can react on peaks, you can react on unusual situation, and you can calculate the imply of every metrics to the revenue. And that's important. Well, rule 11. That's the latest rule for today. If you are looking at the revenue chart every day, well, you can do that. That's okay. But as an analyst, I'd prefer to replace the revenue chart with the internal chart, with the charts of qualitative metrics. For example, the retention charts. They are more important than the revenue chart. If you calculate the retention by cohorts, you can also track how your quality changes from day to day. What is also more important than the revenue chart? The cumulative ARPU, the LTV chart. LTV shows the number of money that user brings you within the whole lifetime. And here you can see how much money the user in different cohort bring you within the first N days in the game. And that is also more important than just the revenue chart. Which curves are also important? The economy balance curves, where you compare the expenses with the spends, and you can find the points of growth, the points of some promotion and discounts, the points of balance. And also the chart of complexity. For example, in match 3 games, the complexity is the key. The more complex level are usually the more financially efficient ones. And it's better to start working with the complexity of the levels than on the final metrics revenue. Well, to sum my speech up, of course, I don't want to say that revenue is not important. At least all of us are here today because of the revenue. I'm sure about it. But anyway, you don't need to focus on the revenue. You need to focus on quality. Such metrics as retention, paying share, LTV, ARPU are more important than revenue. And it's better to increase quality metric first. You need to dig deeper to find the insights. You can find insights in qualitative metrics. And after you find the insights, you can increase your revenue. You can increase your quality and quantity also. And don't forget that analytics is the attitude, is the huge tool set that allows you to dig deeper and find some diamonds, find some insights in the earth of your data. And in the end, a couple of words about us. We are Dev2Dev, the analytical platform for games, and we get the data from different sources, from SDKs, from Google Play and App Store, from API, from attribution systems, and we get this in one data set. We enrich this data and convert it for you to very insightful reports. And these insights can be useful on different stages of users' life cycle, starting from attribution, acquisition, and then to retention and monetization. Thank you very much for your attention and retention.
Thank you, Vasiliy. Okay, you didn't promise to last. We definitely have a little bit of time now for a couple of questions regarding game analytics. So, any questions from the audience? We have a shy one today, so. Again, a speechless audience. So that means they understood everything.
I guess.
Okay, we got one.
Vasya, thanks for the talk. In case, if you were part of a team that's starting, let's say, a new project or testing a new concept, which metric would you prefer to be like the key objective to look at? And probably, if choosing between short-term retention and long-term retention, what would it be?
So if I would be the Robinson Crusoe, which metric I will take with myself? I'll take the LTV metrics, because LTV is the qualitative of the qualitative metrics. Because LTV is like retention multiplied by ARPU. Retention is most important metrics, and ARPU is also most important metrics. If we multiply them, we get the most qualitative metric that we have.
Okay, the next difficulty level. What if it's a really short lifespan prototype, so you cannot actually wait for like 3 months to have your LTV back? What would you substitute for these metrics with other metrics?
Don't get you.
Let's say we have like a prototype that we should like in a month soft launch and say whether it's successful or not. And to see how the LTV goes, probably there should be more time than just a month.
Well, LTV is easily predictable metric. If you have the stable metric of retention and the more or less stable metric of ARPU, you can easily predict your LTV. So I will work with the retention, I will work with the ARPU, and I will make the forecast. So the modern methods, such as machine learning, for example, allow you to forecast your lifetime value precisely. So let's say 80% of precise I can give after 5 or 7 days of users in the game. That's okay. There are no rocket science in that. And so yes, I will put LTV as the main focus, and of course I will work with such metrics as the retention and ARPU as the LTV's children.
Okay, thank you. Good. So that definitely filled a little bit. Vasiliy, thank you again. Just one more question from my side. Since you showed so many different rules, is there a possibility to contact you later if I might want to have some more questions or something like that?
Yes, I will be happy to answer any questions.
I counted over 11, so we definitely have a lot of work to do as game analytics. Okay, thank you again.
Thank you very much.